here today on the Peak 347 podcast. We have Nicki. And Nicki, where do you live right now? What part of the world are you in?
Right now, I'm in Amsterdam, but I lived in Tokyo for the past 10 years.
Okay. So I was looking back at some things that you said that you wanted to talk about.
Mhm.
Um, so the first thing you want to talk about was living and starting a business in Tokyo. What are some
Yeah.
obstacles that you think people face living and starting a business in Tokyo?
Well, first of all, the language barrier, of course, because everything, or pretty much everything, is in Japanese. Fortunately, if you want to start a business, there is also some help for people who are not fluent in Japanese. So there's a kind of like a chamber of commerce type thing where you can go and get some more information about what type of business you should start, like LTD or work as a freelancer or whatever. What are the tax benefits?
Okay.
How you
And
should
are
go
they
about
kind of
it.
and are they like the business structures out there? Kind of like how we have here in the United States, we have like LLCs and stuff like that, S corps.
Yeah, it's quite similar to that. So yeah, that's difficult, especially with the tax returns. But fortunately, the tax office is really helpful, and you can make an appointment, and they'll come and see you and sort everything out. Because the first year I had to do my tax return, I got like a booklet like this thick, and I was like, "Ah, how am I gonna do that?" And of course, everything in Japanese, so I got very um overwhelmed by everything. I was like, how I'm gonna manage. And yeah, fortunately they were very relaxed about it and said, yeah, just
Okay.
bring all your receipts, everything will help you sort it out. So
Okay.
so that was good. But I guess the biggest hurdle for me was yeah, culturally, there's some biases towards women in Japan. So being a Dutch business owner in Japan, definitely there were uh, some people that were like, oh, you're a foreigner, you're a woman, and so obviously you don't know what you're doing. So they weren't all as helpful as I would have liked them to be. So also some people would be like, oh, why don't you even want to start your own business? Your husband is making enough money, so why even bother? And if you make too much money, then it it might be hurtful for you in terms of not falling under his insurance anymore, and not and having to arrange something yourself for pension and that kind of thing. So some people were really trying to dissuade me, like, oh, this is not common for women in Japan to start a business, and they prefer to just be a housewife, so why don't you just do that, and you don't have to work and just be the expat wife. So yeah,
Yeah.
that um preconception that I faced when I wanted to start out.
Okay. So it sounds pretty traditional out there in Japan. Am
Oh
I
yeah,
correct?
for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So as far as starting your business, was it difficult to actually get it up and running? And did a lot of people show you support out there, being a woman entrepreneur?
Yeah, I did get the impression that some people are like, well, there's a lot of risk involved with starting your own business, and you need to get insurance, and you need so many things that you need to take care of. So why even bother? So some people did try to scare me out of not starting to begin with, but I was very determined and was like, yeah, this is really what I want to do, and I want to do it right. I don't want it to be some kind of hobby.
Yeah.
So yeah, I persevered, and even though people were telling me like, oh, you don't even need to do this, and just go back to being the expat wife and just drinking tea with your girlfriends or something. I was like, no, this is what I'm going to do. I need this in my life right now, so I don't care, and I will make it work. So yeah.
Okay. So, if you don't mind me asking, are you married or are you single and living in Japan by yourself?
No, I was married at the time when I started the company.
Okay.
So, in 2011, I was living with my then boyfriend for 5 years in Amsterdam, and he is originally Japanese, but he went to Netherlands as a baby with his parents. So he basically grew up around here and had no experience living and working in Japan. So sorry, this is Miko. He needs to be the center of attention at all times. Anyway, so when we were living together for 5 years, he proposed this idea to me, like, how would you like to live in Japan for like 2, 3 years? Because yeah, at some point we might want to have kids, and then if we have kids in Amsterdam, we'll probably never make it to Japan. So we really need to decide right now what we're going to do. So I told him, yeah, sure, see if you can find a job, I'll come with you. And I really underestimated what it was going to mean. I thought, oh, I have a bachelor's degree, my English isn't bad. I mean, Tokyo, New York, Sydney, London, that's all very international. So I'm sure Tokyo will be the same, I'll get a job and it'll be fine. And then when I couldn't, and everywhere was like, oh, so you're fluent in Japanese, right? So I thought, oh, I'll just study Japanese for a year and then I'll be fluent and I'll get a job. And still, I couldn't find a job. Um, so that's when a friend of mine gave me the idea, like, why don't you start your own business? And at first, I was a bit hesitant, but then I thought, yeah, why not? I mean, it will be fun and give me something to do, a new experience. I should just well, I was also in the luxury position that I was married, so my husband was basically supplying the income. So I didn't really
Yeah.
need the money, but it was more like, as a
That's
Dutch woman, you're raised to be very independent and take care of your own shit and don't rely on anyone else. And you have your own job. And then I was suddenly in Japan being the housewife, and yeah, and your whole identity is also kind of caught up with what you do for a living. So if I would go
yeah.
to parties, people would be like, oh, so what do you do? Like, I'm a housewife right now. So you can see their gaze like, oh yeah, I think I see someone over there. I'll check in with you later. It was nice meeting you. And then they'd be off, like, okay, well, nice, thank you. Apparently I'm no longer interested now that I don't have a job. So yeah, those were big triggers for me to start my own company, and not having to be financially independent straight away, and just take it slowly and really learn on the job, so to speak. um, was really beneficial for me, especially to start off in a country where you're not fluent in the language and you don't know anything about the legal implications and
Yeah.
insurance and all of those things. So yeah, that was
Okay.
really.
But I'm pretty sure that it was kind of easy for you to learn the language and get a hang of things, right? Did they provide a
Uh,
lot of like material or like free language classes or something like that? Or did you have to pursue it on your own?
no, yeah, I had to pursue it on my own. I mean,
Okay.
there is a Dutch community in Tokyo, and a lot of the women were all having classes at the same spot. So they said, "Oh yeah, it'll be fun, and we can hang out after class." So I thought, okay, well that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So I started classes, but the thing was, the teachers couldn't speak any English, so they were explaining everything in Japanese.
Mm,
So after the class, I was just looking everything up online and like, what does this even mean? Like, I don't understand any of it. And it's not like, I mean, of course, I was raised in Europe, so I'm used to studying languages and speaking multiple languages. But I mean, like German, Dutch, English is kind of comparable. So even if you
yeah.
don't understand it, completely, you still might have some idea. And the same with Spanish, French, Italian, and Portuguese. I mean, it's not exactly the same, but the base is the same. So some words are similar, so it's easier. But Japanese, except for a lot of English loan words that they completely butcher, there's nothing to kind of hang your hat on or to kind of give you any idea what, like, the sentence structure is completely different, the grammar is completely different, the writing is completely different. So it was definitely, and also Japanese is a low context language and English is a high context language, meaning that in English and in Dutch, you just say what's on your mind. You just say like, oh, how do you feel about this? Is this something you would go for? And someone will just say, oh, yeah, sounds like a good idea, or like, no, I don't think that's something for me. But Japanese is a high context language, meaning that you have to read in between the lines. So people will not straight out tell you what's on their mind or how they feel about things, or even give you yes or no answer.
Yeah.
They will say things like chotto, and that can mean basically anything. So it's all about the pronunciation and like their body language and uh, how well do you know them, what kind of impression you get of them. Like in business meetings as well, people will never straight away tell you like, oh, that's a crap idea, or so yeah, doing business in Japan, it's so complicated, and there's so many unwritten rules, and so many opportunity for you to mess up because you have no idea what you're doing and you didn't even know that something is a thing. And then later on, if you talk to your Japanese friends or Japanese people and you explain what happened, then they're like, oh yeah, of course, you didn't know about that. I'm like, how was I supposed to know? No, I didn't know that if you walk in with an umbrella that is not dry because it's been raining, then that can be a make or break moment. And if the umbrella is dripping with water, then and you don't do anything about it, then that is enough for people to go like, oh, okay, well, this is obviously not uh, the right partner for us to do business with. Like, how are you supposed to know? So yeah.
So speaking of that, Tyra was telling me about the most of the leadership out there in business is mostly male dominant. Um,
Exactly.
so how did having a male dominant leadership in business affect pretty much everything as far as you working in like a regular job, or maybe even trying to partner with somebody? Like, could you partner with other male business owners, or did they look at you like, oh, this is a woman, we don't trust her, we don't want to work
Yeah,
with her, stuff like that?
yeah, they a lot of hotel owners and transportation companies and restaurants would not take me seriously and would not even contemplate doing business with me. And they would just come up with an excuse why they wouldn't. But later on, I found out it was mostly to do with the fact that I'm a foreigner and b a woman, so therefore not trustworthy and not an equal business partner. Um, so yeah, that was definitely challenging. So now I generally use middlemen for those kind of things. And I try to focus on what I can do and where my strength lies, and not so much focus on all the things that are frustrating me or
Yeah.
are holding me back. So you will never change Japan. You will never change the Japanese attitude. In many ways, they're stuck in the 50s. So if you're going to be the foreigner who's going to change the world, you're not. So you might as well just accept that that's the case and learn to deal with it effectively and not waste your time trying to persuade them that you are different from what they are expecting, or what kind of weird bias they have towards you. So yeah, just find out what works and try not to lose too much energy on what's not working. So yeah, I mean, I've had so many times where people will just not, they, in a business setting, they will just ghost you. They just do not want to deal with you, so they just stop replying to your emails, and you ask them for a proposal and they're like, okay, well, no. Like, you don't want my money? No? Okay, fine.
That's
So yeah,
crazy. But
yeah.
so okay, so for your business, Tokyo Tours,
Mhm.
I looked at it, the social, your Instagram. It seems to be doing really good. I'm guessing that it's still up and running and everything. And
Yeah.
is that the one that you use the middleman for?
No, I mean, for my social media channels, I do everything myself. So
Okay.
my background is in marketing and communication. So that has always been something that I wasn't totally bad at. Um, but you know, you have something in Japan that's called a DMC, and the DMC is basically a fixer. So they can reserve the hotels, they can help you with airline tickets, they can help you with restaurant reservations, they can help you with train tickets, entrance tickets to parks, and that kind of thing. So basically, I just focus on my core business, which is guided tours, and I can offer other stuff, but I'll just use the middleman for that because I just don't have the volume to get the. I mean, Japan is not a country that does anything on commission basis. They don't do discounts. So they are not flexible in any way whatsoever. So this is the price, take it or leave it. So you need a local Japanese male person to do the negotiations for you, and yeah, I have a lot of connections, so I have my own um setup with them regarding pricing and that kind of thing, and I'll just kind of throw it their way, like, can you just fix it and let me know what it costs, and I'll deal with the client myself, but you do all the stuff that I don't want to do. And that is basically, that's the best way for me, because it's just doesn't pay to try and get into all of that yourself, because it takes a lot of time, there's a lot of risk, and there's very little payback. So just let other people figure that out.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty smart though.
Yeah.
Well, to me, it sounds pretty smart. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you just need to know where your strength lies and where you can add value in the supply chain, and focus on that primarily, because there's no sense. I mean, I have burned my hands on that before, and generally speaking, it will take up a lot of your time, and the payback is just insignificant. So just focus on the guided tours and let other partners do the rest.
okay, that's pretty good. I'm actually happy for you about that. But I see that you put something about how you pronounce it, ikigai.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put the concept of ikigai. What would that be? What is the concept of that?
Well, ikigai kind of encompasses a lot of things. So it is kind of like your reason for living, so to speak. So it encompasses everything. So like, what are you good at? What is your passion? Where can you add value? What are your goals in life? What are you trying to achieve? So it has all these bubbles, and it kind of all overlaps in one way or another. And yeah, if you can answer all these questions for yourself, like what brings me joy, what, and also the other side, like what really annoys me and what drains my energy, and what type of people can I totally not work with, then stay away from everything that is just draining and negative, and try to focus on the positive. So ikigai is all about that, finding your passion, finding your truth, finding what you're good at, what you yeah, what is the
Just
reason for you wanting to be an entrepreneur. And
okay. So just basically overall finding your purpose. But
yeah, kind of, yeah.
is it just related to business, or it's just like you said, just for like your purpose in life or your reason
Yeah.
that you're
Yeah,
here
yeah.
on earth?
I mean, you can put this in a business sense. So like, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? But it can also be like, what do you want to get out of life? What kind of partner do you want to get in your life? Or what kind of relationship do you want? So you can apply it to many different fields. And it kind of gives you some insights of who are you as a person? What are your core values? What are you trying to achieve? And what is the best way to get where you want to go?
Okay. And Ikigai, is it kind of like a spiritual kind of deal?
Yeah, I mean, there are some it also has to do with Shintoism, uh Japanese people strongly believe that yeah, in order to find the inner peace, that you need to balance your life and need to take stock of what brings you joy, what are you good at, what are you trying to achieve, and only through answering those questions can you really find happiness.
What are some cultural differences between living in Japan and living in the Netherlands? I think we already touched on that topic, but we didn't really
Yeah,
talk about the Netherlands.
well, I mean, like I said, Dutch people are known to be very direct. We don't beat around the bush. We don't like small talk, generally speaking. So we like to get
Yeah.
down to business. So yeah, and that way we are totally different from Japanese people. Like Japanese people are very poetic in their emails, like, oh, the leaves are starting to fall. There's a crisp air, and the fragrance of autumn is here, and they go on for like 3 paragraphs before they finally get to the
Get
point.
to what?
Yeah, whereas we Dutch people are like, ah, can we just hurry this along?
Yep. Get right
So
to the point. I love it.
yeah, yeah, and also, we like broad sweeping ideas. So if we have a meeting, the first meeting is kind of get people inspired and to kind of give them a general sense of where we want to go and what we have in mind, and just do the outline and color in between the lines later. Whereas Japanese people are yeah, for lack of a better word, detail obsessed. So they don't do bullet points. So if you want to do a PowerPoint presentation, all the information has to be there. The whole slide, there shouldn't be any white space. Everything needs to be filled in, and they need the numbers, they need everything, they need the timeline, they need all of it. And then still at the end of the meeting, they're like, oh yeah, thank you very much. And then you're like, okay, so what just happened here?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot. I
Yeah, and
will have
also
to take those presentations about 3, 4 times before I actually can get a hold of what's going on.
yeah, exactly. And Japanese people cannot really say what's on their mind except when they are completely plastered. So after a business meeting, you need to try to get the executives to go out drinking with you, because that's the only time when they can kind of let their face come out, as they say in Japanese, their true face and their true colors, and to really say what's on their mind, and to really say like, oh, this is not going to work or whatever. Um, because they're not going to say it in a business meeting. So unless you are very emphatic and you are good at reading body language, you're not going to get much further from doing the business meeting. So it's kind of behind the meetings where all the business gets done. Whereas Dutch people are like, yeah, we're on a time crunch. We need to get this. Uh, just hit it out of the field already. Let's sign it and get it done and get it going. And yeah, we're much more pragmatic that way, and we're very direct, and we're not formal at all. We're like call each other by first name, and we will just say, oh, that's a really crap idea, and that's not going to work. And it doesn't matter if the person is like an intern, he can go up to the CEO and say, that's a terrible idea, that's never going to work. And the CEO, as long as you have arguments to kind of
Back yourself
explain,
up.
yeah, then he's actually going to sit down and listen to what you have to say. Whereas in Japan, it's very hierarchical, so people who just came from school basically do not have a say. So usually no one will ask, and if someone does ask, then they have to refer to their senior person, like, oh, I don't know anything, and I'm stupid, I have no experience, you have to ask my senior, he's very knowledgeable, and he will give you the right answer. Whereas
Yeah,
in the net,
gotcha.
yeah, no, you're a student,
Okay.
you have all the new ideas, you know what's going on, let us learn from you.
Thank you, Nikki, for being here tonight.
Thank
All
you
right,
too.
so take care. You have a good night.
Yeah, let's stay in touch.